Have you ever wondered what the earliest Christians actually saw when they looked at Jesus? Not the gentle, soft-eyed figure from paintings, not the Sunday school shepherd, but a being so immense, so cosmic that angels and demons alike obeyed his command. What if I told you that for over 15 centuries, the Western world was denied this vision, and only a handful of monks in Ethiopia preserved the truth? Today, you are about to see a Jesus the world was never meant to witness. In 363 AD, a council of bishops convened in the ancient city of Lydia, a gathering that would shape the course of Western Christianity for centuries to come. Their purpose was weighty: to review a body of sacred texts that early Christians had cherished for generations, writings that painted Jesus in forms so vast, so incomprehensibly powerful, that ordinary believers were never intended to encounter them alone. These texts did not show a tender shepherd or a gentle teacher, but a being whose presence could bend reality, whose authority spanned heaven and earth. After hours of intense debate, the council rendered its verdict. These books were to be banned. Every copy was to be hunted down, every page consigned to flame, and the extraordinary vision of Jesus contained within, venerated by the earliest followers as scripture, was almost entirely erased from the collective memory of the Western Church. Almost entirely, but not completely. Far from the reach of imperial edicts, high in the isolated mountains of Ethiopia, a small and determined community of monks quietly continued their work. In dim candlelight, in stone-walled rooms battered by wind and time, they painstakingly copied the texts, letter by letter, over decades, over centuries. Wars raged below them. Invaders swept across the lands. Kingdoms fell. Yet in this remote sanctuary, life moved at the pace of devotion, and the monks remained oblivious to the wider world's abandonment of the treasures they preserved. They were guided by a singular conviction: what they held was true, sacred, and eternal. And so, against the tides of history, they persevered. What they safeguarded depicts a Jesus that most Christians today have never encountered. This is not the soft-eyed, serene figure of Renaissance paintings. It is not the comforting, gentle shepherd of Sunday school stories. This is a being whose face blazes brighter than 1,000 suns, whose very voice compels obedience from angels and demons alike, whose presence is so overwhelming that, according to texts nearly 2 millennia old, time and space themselves seem to bend and tremble in recognition of him. He is simultaneously intimate and cosmic, terrifying and ineffably beautiful, a figure beyond comprehension, a portrait of divinity unrestrained by human imagination or institutional control. Even more astonishing is the scale of what these Ethiopian monks preserved. Within their manuscripts are descriptions of heavenly realms, of cosmic courts filled with beings older than the earth itself, bowing before him. Their Jesus is not merely a teacher or savior. He is a cosmic architect, the source and sustainer of all creation, whose movements ripple across every dimension of reality. And yet, in the astonishing humility of incarnation, this same being descends to Bethlehem as a vulnerable infant, veiling his full radiance so that the world might survive the encounter. These texts, hidden from Western eyes for over 15 centuries, offer a glimpse into a Christianity unfiltered and unmediated, a faith in which the divine spark resides within every human, accessible directly, without the intercession of priests, sacraments, or institutions. They tell of a Jesus who does not merely teach or inspire, but transforms reality itself, whose miracles are cosmic restorations, whose resurrection is a multidimensional event that reclaims existence in every realm simultaneously. And through the silent work of monks high in the Ethiopian mountains, this vision endured. Generation after generation, they copied every word, never seeking recognition, never anticipating that one day, the world beyond their mountains would witness what they had safeguarded. Their devotion preserved a version of Christ so vast, so unimaginable, that even centuries later, it has the power to overturn everything we thought we knew about him. Mel Gibson has studied these ancient texts with painstaking care, and in 2027, he is poised to bring this cosmic vision of Jesus to the largest screens in the world. This is more than a movie. It is the story of what was buried, of who kept it alive against all odds, and of why this revelation is about to upend everything we thought we knew about the man at the center of Christianity. To understand this journey, we must return to 2004. That year, Gibson released a film that every major studio in Hollywood had refused to touch. Undeterred, he financed it entirely himself, mortgaging his own future to bring a vision to life that ought. Hers deemed too controversial, too raw, too unfiltered. He filmed the Passion of the Christ entirely in Aramaic, Latin, and Hebrew, languages that had not been spoken in that sacred context for over 2 millennia. There were no compromises to commercial expectations, no softening of the story to make it more palatable. The result? A film that shattered records, grossing over $600 million worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing R-rated film in American history, a record it held for nearly 2 decades. The critics who predicted ruin were wrong. The executives who assumed audiences would reject unfiltered religious storytelling were wrong. Yet even as audiences marveled, Gibson knew the story was far from complete. From the very beginning, he was clear. The Passion told only the first half. It concluded at the tomb, leaving the questions hanging in the air. What happened next? How did the story unfold beyond Jerusalem? What transpired in every realm, not just on earth but across the dimensions of existence itself? That narrative had never been told. For the next 20 years, Gibson devoted himself to telling it. In interviews, he revealed that he had developed 2 scripts. One was traditional, structured to meet audience expectation, rooted in familiar storytelling. The other, he described on the Joe Rogan Experience, was like an acid trip, a journey through hellish realms, angelic hierarchies, and dimensions of reality that do not obey human time. Most dismissed this as eccentric or hyperbolic. They assumed he was exaggerating. He was not. What he was describing, almost verbatim, had existed for centuries in the Ethiopian Bible, a vision of Christ that Western Christianity had almost entirely erased, preserved only by a handful of dedicated monks in isolation. Gibson is not inventing mythology. He is reconstructing what has been hidden for 15 centuries. And now, he intends to show it to the world. The Resurrection of Christ, Part 1, is no rumor, no legend whispered in scholarly halls. It is a living, breathing production, currently filming at Cinecittà Studios in Rome, with a staggering $100 million budget and distribution through Lionsgate. Part 1 is scheduled to premiere on Good Friday, 2027, with Part 2 following on Ascension Day, 40 days later. Even the timing of the release is deliberate, a theological statement embedded in the calendar itself. The scripts remain classified, and at the American film market, international buyers were forbidden from reading them before committing to distribution deals. In an industry that thrives on pitch decks, screeners, and careful risk management, Gibson asked the world's most powerful buyers to commit millions of dollars solely on the weight of his reputation, and most of them did. What Gibson has confirmed about the story is staggering. It begins long before Bethlehem, opening with the cataclysmic fall of the angels. It travels through realms that no Western biblical film has ever dared to depict, dimensions beyond human comprehension, each more awe-inspiring than the last. The resurrection itself cannot be told as a single, linear event, because it did not unfold in a single linear dimension. According to the Ethiopian Bible, creation has a layered structure, 7 heavens, each with its own hierarchy, its own laws, its own order. Christ's descent is not simply a walk from heaven to earth. It is a traversal through cosmic architecture, a journey that bridges realms, defies time, and intersects with the very framework of existence surrounding the crucifixion and resurrection. Once this is understood, one stops wondering where Gibson found his vision and begins to marvel at how he discovered it at all. Most people in the Western world have never even heard of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, one of the oldest Christian institutions on earth. Christianity arrived in Ethiopia in the 4th century, not as a colonial import, not as an afterthought, but as a natural continuation of the faith spreading south and east from Jerusalem. The texts were written in Ge'ez, an ancient sacred language that predates Latin as a vehicle for Christian theology. Ethiopian Christianity evolved entirely independently of Rome or Constantinople, untouched by councils and imperial decrees that sought to dictate what believers could think, believe, or even read. When the Roman Empire began policing the boundaries of faith, deciding what texts were acceptable, what interpretations were heretical, Ethiopia remained unreachable. Geographic isolation, reinforced centuries later by the expansion of Islam, became an accidental shield, preserving these texts in pristine continuity while the rest of the world burned, purged, and rewrote what Christians were allowed to know. The result is a body of work that has survived nearly 2 millennia, a faith tradition and textual record that remained hidden from the West, safeguarding a vision of Christ both cosmic and immediate, a vision that Gibson now tends to bring to the world in full, unfiltered, unimaginable glory. As a result, the Ethiopian Bible contains up to 88 books, 22 more than the Catholic canon and 44 more than most Protestant Bibles. Within its pages are texts that Western councils explicitly banned, works deemed too powerful, too overwhelming, too dangerous for ordinary believers. Among them are the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the Ascension of Isaiah. These texts portray Jesus not as a gentle shepherd, but as a cosmic, awe-inspiring figure whose presence bends reality and commands obedience from every corner of creation. For over 15 centuries, these texts survived in Ethiopian monasteries, meticulously copied by generations of monks working in isolation, often in dim candlelight, in stone cells carved from the mountains themselves. The Book of Enoch was never a marginal text. Fragments were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the earliest church fathers treated it as authoritative, citing it as prophecy and revelation. Yet in 363 AD, the Council of Lydia banned it, ordering copies destroyed, erasing it from the consciousness of Western Christianity. For 17 centuries, the majority of the Western world remained unaware of its contents. The Book of Enoch depicts a figure called the Son of Man, the chosen one, the righteous judge. His head is white as wool, his face radiates a grace so profound that words fail, and he sits at the center of a vast heavenly courtroom surrounded by rivers of fire. Angels and other celestial beings, incomprehensibly powerful and eternal, kneel before him. His authority spans every realm, every dimension, and every age of existence. Remarkably, the one book that did survive in the Western canon, the Book of Revelation, contains passages that are almost identical. Revelation 1:14-16 describes Christ with hair white as wool, eyes blazing like fire, feet polished bronze refined in a furnace, a voice like rushing waters, and a sharp sword issuing from his mouth. These are not vague echoes or artistic coincidences. They are the same vision. Scholars of ancient Jewish and Christian traditions confirm this is no accident. The author of Revelation drew directly from the same Enochic tradition that the Western Church later banned, burned, and replaced with a more manageable image of Christ. Yet Ethiopia preserved it, safeguarding a vision of Jesus as the cosmic Son of Man for 15 centuries, unseen and untouched by Western eyes. These ancient texts reveal a Christ unlike the one most of the world has been taught to imagine. He offers direct, unmediated communion with the divine. Salvation is not a transaction, not a ritual to be purchased or mediated. It is an awakening, a recognition of the light that already resides within each person. The kingdom of God is not somewhere distant. It exists within every human heart. No clergy, no sacraments, no tithes, no intermediary required. This is a Christ who speaks directly to the soul, who declares the divine spark in every human being, empowering each to access the sacred without permission or institution. When the Western Church suppressed these texts, it replaced this cosmic, uncontainable Christ with a more manageable, domesticated figure, a gentle, comforting image reliant on institutional authority to be accessible. The radical, universe-spanning vision of Christ was simplified into a form that could fit neatly into a painting or a framed icon. But the Ethiopian monks never received that memo. Generation after generation, they continued to copy the original texts with unwavering devotion, preserving a Christ whose presence is unbounded, whose authority transcends every level of creation, and whose very being asserts the divinity inherent in all of humanity. The Ascension of Isaiah, composed in the late 1st or early 2nd century, maps the architecture of creation in staggering detail, describing 7 distinct heavens, each more overwhelming than the last. The first heaven oversees the affairs of earth. The second governs the movements of celestial bodies across the cosmos. The third reveals paradise, radiant with the tree of life, gates of living fire, and floors that gleam like starlight. By the 6th heaven, the very presence of the divine becomes unbearable to any human being. The 7th, the supreme, ineffable realm, exists beyond all created beings, a realm where mortality cannot survive. And it is from this 7th heaven that Christ begins his descent to the mortal world. At every level, he deliberately dims his own radiance, veiling his true glory so that the beings within each realm perceive him as one of their own, a celestial among celestials, an angel among angels. Not because he hides in shame, but because if he were to appear at full magnitude, existence itself could not withstand the encounter. And yet, after traversing this infinite hierarchy of realms, he arrives in Bethlehem as a fragile human infant, Eve. Rye level of creation watches the incarnation unfold, aware that something monumental has occurred, yet almost none of them understand the magnitude of what they are witnessing. Only the Father and the Spirit truly comprehend the profound mystery that has entered the manger. The cosmic Christ, fully divine, fully human, veiled in humility for the sake of the world he has come to save. Gibson has stated unequivocally that his film must begin in this other realm, the realm of angels and cosmic hierarchy, with the cataclysmic fall of the angels themselves. The resurrection, he explains, cannot be depicted as a single, linear event because it did not unfold within a single dimension. It is an event that transcends time, space, and even reality itself, occurring simultaneously across multiple planes of existence. This is not eccentricity or artistic indulgence. It is strict fidelity to the ancient texts that have preserved this vision for millennia. Step inside an Ethiopian Orthodox Church today, and you will immediately notice how radically different the imagery is from the familiar Western portrayals of Jesus. There is no soft, fair-skinned, docile shepherd. Instead, you encounter Exeobur, Lord of the universe, a figure dark-skinned, eyes deep and penetrating, surrounded by gold that does not signify luxury but radiates divine fire. Fully human and fully cosmic at once, this is a Christ whose authority is universal and whose presence is unfathomable. The miracles of this Christ are not mere acts of compassion, they are acts of cosmic restoration. When he commands a storm to cease, the very forces of creation obey. When he heals disease, he is not bending reality. He is repairing the original design of existence itself. When he raises the dead, he asserts with absolute authority that life is fundamental, eternal, and inviolable. Modern scholarship is only beginning to grapple with the significance of these manuscripts preserved in Ethiopia. They suggest that some of the most sophisticated theological reflection of the first millennium may not have occurred in Rome or Constantinople, as is often assumed, but in Africa. Entire traditions, texts that have never been fully translated or digitized, remain largely untouched by Western scholars. Within these pages lies a vision of Christ that is direct, unmediated, and profoundly transformative. A Christ who communicates with humanity without institutional filters or intercessors. The Jesus of popular imagination, The gentle, fair-skinned shepherd immortalized in countless Western paintings is not drawn from the oldest, most authoritative sources. It is a reconstruction shaped by the texts that survived the Purge and by European artists who interpreted them centuries later. The original portrait, meticulously preserved by Ethiopian monks for 15 centuries, is almost unrecognizable by comparison. This is the cosmic Christ described in the Book of Enoch, mapped across the 7 heavens in the Ascension of Isaiah, and reflected in the Revelation passages that survived the Western canon. A being of absolute authority, who traversed every realm of existence before even taking human form, whose death ruptured the very fabric of reality, and whose resurrection was not confined to a single moment in Jerusalem, but was instead a simultaneous, universe-spanning explosion of light, reclaiming and restoring every dimension of creation in one incomprehensible act. In 2027, Gibson will bring this vision to life on the screen, and the rare creative freedom to tell the story exactly as the ancient texts demand. For the first time in history, the world will witness the cosmic Christ preserved in Ethiopia and described in the Book of Enoch, not the domesticated, sanitized figure of Western imagination, but a being of overwhelming authority, brilliance, and divine presence, on the largest cinematic stage ever. Once audiences experience this vision, the familiar paintings in Western churches, the images that have framed faith for centuries, will never feel complete again. They will appear as pale shadows of a reality that has always existed, hidden for too long. The monks who safeguarded these manuscripts never envisioned such a moment. They did not act out of political rebellion or a desire for controversy. Instead, for over 15 centuries, generation after generation, they sat in austere stone rooms, copying each word with painstaking devotion. Their lives were simple, their world contained, yet the act of preservation carried immeasurable weight. Through their discipline and faith, they maintained the memory of a Christ deemed too powerful, too immediate, too direct for public knowledge. A Christ who affirmed the divine spark in every human being, accessible to all without the need for intermediaries or ritual. And now, this story is only beginning to unfold. Vast repositories of manuscripts remain untranslated, countless texts unexamined, entire traditions unseen by modern scholarship. If the Book of Enoch alone has the power to challenge and reshape our understanding of Jesus, one can only imagine what other revelations lie hidden in these mountains. What other truths, cosmic and transformative, have been buried, waiting silently for a world ready, or perhaps unready, to encounter them. This is not merely the retelling of history. It is the unveiling of a vision that transcends time, culture, and human expectation. A story that has slept in monasteries, guarded by devotion and faith, is poised to awaken, demanding that we reconsider everything we thought we knew about divinity, humanity, and the boundaries between them. If you want to witness this cosmic Christ for yourself, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because what you are about to see in 2027 will challenge everything you thought you knew about faith, divinity, and the universe itself. Don't miss a moment.